Listen, there's a van about a quarter mile down that road. They say they're from the cable company, but they might be lying.
On the next episode of Common Side Effects.
He's coming towards us.
What do we do?
We do nothing. You do nothing. I'll do something if we have to do something.
Hello? Are you here to kill me?
Common Side Effects. New episode next Sunday at 11:30 on Adult Swim. Next day on Max.
SO Warrior, form up!
Absolute power!
There is only one hope for the people of Yoruba land. The Chosen.
My name is Iyanu.
I thought the Chosen would be taller.
As the Chosen, you have a trinity of powers. Unnatural, natural, and supernatural.
She must prove herself.
The land isn't getting any less cursed while you try to discourage me.
Trust your instincts. This is what I have been training you for.
And discover the source of her powers.
Team Chosen. I like that. Team Chosen.
You can do this. One big leap.
For a chance to return her people to a new age of wonders.
How was that?
Iyanu, new series. Premieres Saturday, April 5th at 9:30 on your Cartoon Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Toonami Therapy. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Pong.
And it's February 12th of 2025, and we're here to talk to you about some anime, some of which was on Toonami, along with some other stuff we discuss. So, we have news, I guess. We've all been wondering, when Invincible Fight Girl, finishes, what are we going to have to replace it? Well, and we were all excited for the second season of Mashle. Well, get unexcited, everyone, because we actually aren't getting the second season of Mashle, at least not yet. It'll just air the first season, and that'll be that. So if you want to continue, I guess you gotta, watch the second season or read the manga. Also, we're going to replace Invincible Fight Girl at the start of it with Fooly Cooly Grunge. I can't even remember which one that is. Hang on, let me I probably should have looked this up beforehand, but let me double check. Which one is Grunge? Okay, Grunge is the one that has the weird, different art style. The one about the character who at first we thought was supposed to be, from the commercial, was supposed to be Naota, but it's actually just a totally different person. So, yeah, now you get to watch what I'm pretty sure it's considered to be the worst of the Fooly Cooly seasons.
It's just saying a lot.
I mean, the sequel, obviously the sequels aren't really considered that great, but yeah, even by those standards, let me actually see. I'm checking my anime list to see what they thought. Oh yeah, oh wow. Okay, so here's what here is the ranking. I'll give them. So there's Fooly Cooly, the original, obviously. That's the highest. That's 8.03. Second place is Fooly Cooly Alternative, which is 6.47. So we dropped a noticeable amount there. Now that's the second season of it. That was the one with that. Well, I won't go through all this stuff. But then after that, we have Fooly Cooly Progressive, which is the third season. And then we just have Grunge and then Shoegaze. Shoegaze was the last one they did. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I gave the order wrong. Sorry. In terms of rankings, after Progressive, we then have Shoegaze, then Grunge. So Grunge is the lowest. And by a noticeable amount, the other three sequels are all like, 6 point something. And whereas Grunge is 4.66, which is, yeah, that's pretty low for my anime list.
For some reason, I have Grunge as my second highest rated of the 5. It made it to a 2 whereas 3 of the other ones only made it to a 1. So
That doesn't. That's weird to me.
so I must have liked Grunge a tiny bit more.
Huh.
I don't know why I would have, but yeah, I must have liked Grunge a little bit more than Shoegaze, and I gave it a 2 instead of a 1.
That's a little weird, surprising, because
as if that's anything to be proud of.
Yeah, but it's still a little. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, because I, along with I think everyone else, thought Grunge was the worst of them. That's at least the one that I can't act. I mean, I didn't really like any of the sequels, but I could at least look at some of them and see, okay, you know, there's maybe this as something. Grunge was just, yeah, not so good. But anyway, you don't want us here to hear us complain a bunch about Fooly Cooly, or maybe you do. I don't know. But that's the case there. So yeah, so going forward, so we've only got, I think, one more episode of Mashle then, and then we'll just be having Fooly Cooly Grunge, 2 episodes of Blue Exorcist, One Piece, then Dragon Ball Z Kai Naruto, then Sailor Moon. So we're going to keep going, and I guess we'll just be talking about Blue Exorcist and One Piece, which means, since it's a doubling up of Blue Exorcist, we'll only have 2 series on Toonami to discuss.
Yeah, pretty embarrassing. I don't think Toonami's going to survive. I think it's going to die out at some point. But, yeah, we're not going to really have much to talk about when it comes to Toonami. So we'll have to improve things on our non-Toonami side.
Yeah, and it's also going to feel weird because about how we might want to revise. We'll have to think about revising the way we do like the ratings, because we were thinking, okay, we'll pick our favorite Toonami show and our favorite non-Toonami show. But if we've only got 2 Toonami shows and one of them's One Piece, then Blue Exorcist is going to win every single time. Okay. Anyway, so we've gotten through all that. So to get basic, so I guess we'll keep going through all of that. Right. So we'll just start out with the Toonami series then. There's not any other news to talk about, I don't think, in regards to Toonami.
No.
All right. So Mash is up against a bad guy who decides to use his string powers to manipulate someone that Mash doesn't want to hurt to attack Mash and make it hard for him to fight. So, you know, exactly what's going on in One Piece right now. Mm-hmm. Well, what was going on in One Piece before we started on all these flashbacks within flashbacks, and then going back to another flashback, and then switching to anyway, back to Mash. So we get that, then we get the big backstory of the bad guy after he's beaten. It's like, oh no, he actually had a sympathetic back story, and well, unlike a bunch of other, unlike a bunch of other series like Bleach or Demon Slayer, he doesn't immediately die. So maybe there's actually a point to that for once. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Mash beats him. He does the flashback and decides, well, I guess I'm not as bad of a guy now. And yep. Meanwhile, the other didn't, oh man, I can't remember exactly what was happening at the end there. I just know someone ends up having to fight some bad guy. Sorry for the vagueness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it was decent. I mean, it's not necessarily that much to talk about, although I will always like Mash is sort of, I don't know, sort of his reactions to things, where he just kind of like, it's just like, It's like that. It's like that joke from One Punch Man where Saitama just has this blank look on his face and says, "Okay." When he does that sort of thing, but not even just like a vague okay. It's just like when he says, "Huh, that sounds like he finds out Magia Luffy says that sounds like the sort of thing I'd make up when I was young." I can't remember what he says in this episode, but I know he says something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we got Blue Exorcist episode 12. Okay, so basically they end up going to have to, let's see if I can
Amusement park.
What? No, I remember
Amusement park.
I remember the park, and I remember that when they're going there because of the kid ghost there. But then I'm just trying to remember, wait, they end up fighting a guy, but why were they fighting them again? That's what I'm losing my memory on. That's my this episode's a blur. I'm so sorry. Can you remember it? You remember this series better than I can. Can you go over it?
Yeah, this guy wants to fight Rin, and I'm not really sure if it's described like whose side he's on or what, but he's fighting against Rin, and they go at it, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. It's so weird. I'm like, okay, they're going there and they meet the kid and there's all stuff, and then they end up fighting a guy, but I can't remember anything other than all I remember is that when we were watching and I made a joke of, wow, this place is getting smashed. Who's going to actually pay for all the damages of this fight? So yeah, I'm sorry to any listeners for my vagueness. This is the problem. It's always Toonami that we tend to watch the farthest back before these, so everything just goes out of my brain. Mm-hmm. All right, so then we got One Piece episode 704. All right, so basically what happens here is episode 703, not 704. Okay. Or wait, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, okay. Episode 703. Got it. I believe is. All right. So basically we have that Corazon guy talks to Law, and it turns out he can talk, and he has the ability to make spaces silent. I'm sure that would be that's at least got some utility in regards to stealth and stuff, but compared to so many other devil fruits, it just comes across as kind of lame.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that. Basically, he decides, well, I'm going to try to help out Law by finding a cure for his illness, so he wants to just grab Law and tries taking him to all these hospitals to get treatment, but everyone thinks that his disease is contagious, even though it actually isn't, and he can't get any of that. And then we don't actually get an end to that because we switch back to the present. And then there is still fighting against them. Against against Doflamingo, and yeah, that's basically it. So we had the flashback, and then we ended the flashback, and I'm sure we're going to get right back to that flashback soon enough. Because it's just not complete. Although that would be, I always make the jokes like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if they just beat the final boss midway through the season. They just spend the rest of it, partying and celebrating their defeat. Or, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we had a flashback like this, and then we hold it off, and then we never return to it and never get any resolution. I'm thinking, I wonder, I really want to see some series that just does all of those things at once, like a complete troll series. Anyway, and that's One Piece.
Yeah, typical One Piece. Not really much to say about it.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for Toonami. Expect our discussions to be even shorter once they do the change up.
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, it feels like despite the name of the podcast, has started to be more about the stuff that we're not watching on Toonami. But we have very slight brand recognition, so we can't change it. Okay.
Well, yeah. This was just a bad week for Toonami. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
It was just all 3 episodes that we watched. Well, the Blue Exorcist episode wasn't too bad, and the Mashle episode was okay. It's just that there wasn't much to say about it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish I could add anything, but I don't really have anything. So, yeah.
All right. So we move on to Yu Yu Hakusho episode. Do I have these numbers right? Because I thought it was. No, it is 41. Okay, sorry. I was looking. Doesn't matter. Episode 41. Okay, so Yusuke manages to use the Spirit Wave technique and wins. But then the tournament committee team, who apparently got bribed off by the guy, I don't know his name, but the guy who really wants to see them lose. And they're saying, yeah, well, the announcer person did the count too slowly for when Yusuke was out of the ring. So this is a dual knockout, and that leaves the other team with one guy, and Team Urameshi doesn't have anyone. But Kuwabara, even though he's injured, says, I'm going to fight. And then he goes up, and he's very clearly going to be barely going to have some trouble, but he's still going to try to do it. So yeah, we basically get that. Oh, also remember Yukina, I think was her name. That ice apparition they saved from the previous one. Well, she's here now, I guess.
Yes, he came to find her brother, I think, or maybe not. I don't know, but yes. So now all of a sudden we got a group of 4 girls. So. We're like racking up the girls to go with the 5. We got the 4 guys and then the masked fighter, and now we got 4 girls who've all joined up to the thing. So maybe we will start pairing off these girls with the guys, and the masked fighter will just be left alone. But yeah, I thought this was a much better episode than what we've been seeing. I really liked the whole twist, because I was like, I watched this episode and at first I'm like, okay, just another episode, and then they come up with that bizarre twist that Yusuke gets knocked out just because the guy bribed him, and I thought that was a pretty funny twist to it. So then Kuwabara has to step in, which that we knew he was gonna join the fight at some point, but I just thought it was a good addition to the storyline to have this mafia boss basically manipulating things to try to make it harder on Yusuke's team, and it was pretty funny actually. So yeah, and then we had Botan's antics outside with Yukina. So yeah, I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, one part I thought was kind of funny was when let's see, Shizuru, that's Kuwabara's sister, she's with Keiko, and they're like in this place, and she just says, yeah, let's just go someplace else. And Keiko's like, and then just break Keiko off, and then the place where they were is where Jin just like, crash lands.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny, but yeah, everything's pretty rigged against the main characters, and the audience moat doesn't really like them much. They seem to like Team Urameshi even even less than the Super Bowl audience like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I know that's super forced, but come on, look, I got to make a joke about that now, or else it'll be too late. Heck, if someone listens to this a year from now, they'll be like, "Wow, that didn't make any sense." I got to get all my Super Bowl jokes out of the way. Come on, make them. What jokes do you got? Come on. If you don't have any, we can just move on.
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, all right, that's it for our Super Bowl jokes. I'm sure a lot of other people did it better. Okay, so yeah, decent episode. I don't have much else to add to it. So we got Shangri-La Frontier, episode 35. Okay, so what we get here is Sunraku then meets up with Rei. There's a whole lot of wacky antics because of misunderstandings between the two of them, which like Sunraku keeps thinking that Rei is angry at him when she's like not at all. And so basically it's Sunraku being all nervous while Rei is just inwardly like fangirling while they're hanging out. And she anyway, so they basically are going to that because they need to get to that place where for that meeting Sunraku wants to go to. I'm glad they explained all of this stuff. Oh yeah, actually the start of the episode does have Sunraku beat the boss. So if we're all people who are in super suspense about whether he managed to do it, yeah, he did. And he does say that he sets a new record. It was a little unclear whether it was supposed to be his own record or whether this was a game record. So if it was a game record, I'm annoyed that he apparently managed to do that on his first try. But whatever. Let's get back to the stuff I liked more in the episode, which is just their funny interactions. Then, however, they run into the Zoo clan with Animalia, who's there. And it turns out that her group is there because they somehow, we don't know exactly how, but they figured it out, that Lycagon was going to show up. And they just want it because they want to fulfill the quest condition so that Sunraku did that will let them visit like Rabbituza. Because apparently Pencilgon just made something up to tell her about it. And yeah, that's it. Lycagon shows up, and I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, what was the thing with Pencilgon? I didn't really understand it.
Okay, so Animalia, she's like the one who's the leader of the Zoo clan of Shangri-La Frontier. She and her group wanted to get to Rabbituza because they think the rabbits are cute, which is why. So they wanted to manage to do it like Sunraku did. Now, Sunraku got the ability because he fought a Lycagon and got like the blood, was it blood? It was something that was put onto him, which has several effects, like making him unable to wear armor in the places where it got hit and more. But it ended up also letting him access that whole unique scenario of Rabbituza, which kind of like kicks off a lot of the show's plot. So they wanted to basically do that, but they don't actually know what to do. And so apparently Pencilgon basically, because she just told her, Animalia, oh yeah, you just got to get 100 critical hits on Lycagon in order so that she could get some money from Animalia about it. And yeah, Pencilgon basically seems just made that up to get the money.
Who's Lycagon?
That's the big like wolf monster.
Okay, because I was confused. I'm also confused about these rabbits. Are these rabbits actual people, or are they computer generated?
They're all computer generated AI.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so they have all those personalities, but they're all just not even real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all NPCs. Which is why I just remember this part when Sunraku's fighting some monster and he thinks, no, the AI couldn't possibly be that good. I'm thinking, Sunraku, the level of AI in this game is completely insane. Why would you think they wouldn't be able to to do tactics and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got all that. I thought there were a lot of pretty funny things in this episode. I really liked Sunraku and Rei's interactions.
Yeah, I like that too. I liked how, the only problem was it was a little confusing when she was talking to herself or when she was talking out loud because you can't see her. And the same thing with, I guess the same thing with Sunraku too, a little bit, where you can't tell whether they're actually talking out loud or thinking it. So that was a little confusing for me, but I think I understood it well enough. I thought it was pretty entertaining, and I was glad they came back to this because I want to see this whole romance thing happen. So, so I like this episode.
Okay. One quick thing to note, when Sunraku, because she actually tells him, hey, could you just call me Rei? And Sunraku's sort of confused. He's like, oh, Zero? Rei? And unfortunately, it doesn't actually explain it in here, because I guess you can't really just fit into the dub. But what I assume is trying to be shown that he's thinking is the fact that if you don't know, the word for zero in Japanese is Rei. Well, also zero. You can say Rei or zero. So I assume that's where she even got the name Saiger Zero from. But that was what he was going on there. I think he was just thinking it was like a pun or something. Okay. All right. Okay. After that, we've got Blue Lock episode 31. And so for this episode, and I'm sorry, I had a great joke planned here, but I don't have this thing pulled up, so just give me a quick thing so that I can actually pull this up so I can make the joke. Okay. When Itoshi Sai scores the first goal of the match, the crowd goes wild, making it clear to Team Blue Lock that they're here to watch Sai. Rin changes the strategy, and Nagi makes a memorable first goal for Team Blue Lock. I have just read the description of this episode on Crunchyroll, and I have just completely summarized the plot, because that's everything that happens in the episode. This thing spoils the entire episode. The description for it on the video on Crunchyroll just tells you exactly what happens in the episode with big spoilers. Like the goal that happens towards the end of the episode. When I saw that, I assumed, oh, this is going to be like some stuff that happens earlier. Nope, that's the episode. They just spoil the whole thing for you.
Well, I didn't read it, so I didn't get spoiled. But I will say that I was disappointed because I was thinking that, okay, finally, like every single sports anime, they always have to come from behind. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if for one time they get off to a good start and then they blow it and it goes in reverse? And I was thinking, okay, we're going to finally get something like that in this episode. Well, no, it was just the typical thing where the opposing team scores first and then the Blue Lock team scores afterward to tie it up. Now, maybe it'll go like that in the next episode. I'm not sure, but I don't want to read the description for the next episode because it'll probably spoil that too. But I thought that this episode finally proved what was wrong with the animation, which is like there really isn't much animation. You just got the players standing still when the ball's with them, and then everything in the background is standing still. So, yeah, this pretty bad animation, I'd have to say. So finally caught up with us. So
Yeah, the animation had this problem, I think, also, especially in the second episode. But then like I remember mentioning it there, and I think maybe also the third. But then after that, I feel like it was less noticeable. There were still shortcuts and stuff, but it didn't. But like but I at least wasn't actively seeing it. This episode, it just comes back with such a gusto, and there's so many things where there's just nothing moving, or more accurately, things are moving, but it's only like the equivalent of, like, if you were holding up like a sign and then just moving it to the right. Like what's moving itself is static. It's just as moving in the frame, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunately pretty noticeable. I will say one thing though. When they get the goal and it shows everyone's reaction to it, I'm thinking, yeah, this is like this is the time you actually do a reaction shot. Unlike One Piece, who does it for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually need that reaction shot here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed in this animation, which you said that people complained about it, and I was thinking, well, maybe not, but yeah, this episode really showed it.
I have heard I know at least this last episode people say is actually pretty well animated, but I don't know if it improves before that. I just remember some people saying, yeah, it looked so good that it just spiked the rating on my anime list by a bunch when it happened. So that's always something. I always keep mentioning that, but I just always consider watching, like the scores and the trends and stuff interesting. Like when Uzumaki started out really high and then it just like dropped super much after the next few episodes. Okay. So, yeah. I will say one thing. If this episode was trying... okay, I'm copying a joke I saw someone else make, but whatever. You can at least say that this episode seemed pretty faithful to the manga because there's so much time where nothing is moving. Okay. And yeah, that's it. That's our non-Toonami series also. So yeah. Okay. For like a moment I thought there might be something more, but there wasn't, at least in terms of anime. Okay, so we've got any top three? Well, no, we aren't doing that. But just our top ones for each for the Toonami and non-Toonami.
Well, obviously Mashle, and then for the first time this year, I'm actually going with Yu Yu Hakusho. I had written off the show and I was ready to quit it. And then this episode was like, oh, this show can actually mix things up from time to time. So, because I was getting sick of seeing the same old battles. But this episode, by being unfair to the main character's team, I think it made for a more interesting episode. So, yeah. Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay, well.
Oh, my best girl, by the way, is Yukina.
Okay.
From Yu Yu Hakusho. Yep.
All right. For me, I'll just give Mashle and then Shangri-La Frontier.
Okay.
All right. That's it. I feel like there's something I wanted to talk about in relation to anime or manga, but I can't remember anything offhand. Well,
I'm still going through Bleach right now. I'm watching one episode a day for the whole year. And so we've come to episode 43. And we're getting pretty close to the part wherever I started blogging Bleach for the longest time. And of course, I blogged Bleach from episode 52 all the way until sometime in the what arc was that? The arc where they finally fought Aizen, and I kind of, yeah.
I feel like it was when you started writing the individual episode reviews. You mean?
No, when I stopped, because I stopped at some point, and I'm trying to remember when that was. Yeah, it was. I remember doing episode 300, so it had to be after that.
Let's see.
So,
yeah, I can't remember when you mean when you stopped. Okay, let me think. I know you got at least through the you were doing it at least through the filler arc where there was I don't know that that princess character or whatever. I remember because you talked about how you thought that how the sub you watched had her use the royal we and then the dub didn't. I remember you commenting on that. I can't remember. I don't know exactly when you stopped though. I just know you at least got until that filler arc.
Yeah, I stopped for a little while, and then I came back and did a little while. And I think 300 was the last episode I did, because then I went on a trip, and then I came back, and then I don't know what happened. But yeah. Anyway, you should follow along with some of my posts that I put up, just to see if you remember some of these things happening. Like, for example, today I was talking about how Mayuri he's just such a piece of crap. And the fact that he has survived so far, at least, I'm not sure if he does survive to the end, but I think he does in Thousand Year Blood War arc. I hate that guy, and it just seems so unfair to me that there's some really good captains who get killed off and not him. And I'm like, he would have been the perfect captain to kill off. So yeah, I didn't remember what a piece of crap he was until this episode. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I didn't like this guy. But here's the funny part, is that the good guy is Uryu, who in Thousand Year Blood War turns into the villain. So go figure. I don't know. I don't know who's good and who's bad. I don't know. They reverse roles, I guess. And how far have they dubbed the Thousand Year Blood War arc? Because I went through the first 2 seasons, and I'm not sure. I haven't gone back for the 3rd season yet. So, have they finished the 3rd season of that?
Well, I don't have Hulu, so I can't look at it directly myself, but I'd assume they had, because the 3rd season oh wow, that finished more recently than I thought. But yeah, it finished about a month and a half ago, so I don't know how far behind they were in the dubbing, but they probably are either I feel like it was like maybe 4 or 6 weeks. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was something like that. So I think the whole thing is dubbed now.
Okay,
probably either the whole thing or
go back to that.
Either the whole thing or almost all of it should be done. But yeah, Mayuri was weird. The fact it's weird, his first introduction, because later on he's like, not portrayed as exactly good, but he's portrayed like more as, oh, that wacky Mayuri. And here is just like some of the stuff, like forget all the mistreatment of not just a mistreatment of Nemu. Remember, he's the guy who just straight up put bombs on like his subordinates to use them to try to
Yeah.
attack people.
Yeah.
And that's just like just kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
Like for that wait, also remember he's the one who also said he mentions to Uryu, I can't remember if it's in the if you've got it. Are you fully done with the fight yet, or
No,
Okay.
it just started.
did he give the
But yeah, he revealed that he killed his grandfather or something like that.
he basically
Yeah.
he made it so that the Soul Society wouldn't go to help him in time, so he would die even if he didn't do it himself. And then like remember the next time they meet, it's where Mayuri saves Uryu, and the whole thing is just treated as wacky comedy at Uryu's expense. Like, oh, that Mayuri, he's so wacky, and like the way Uryu gets treated is kind of apparently supposed to be meant more like comedically, and I'm like the guy, he didn't like do the killing himself, but he helped cause it. It's so weird. It legitimately feels like the author just forgot about. It feels like he almost just forgot about this entire sequence and just thought, oh yeah, that Mayuri, he was like a wacky mad scientist, right? Okay, that's all I established in that scene, right?
Yeah. I just remember watching this episode that I shipped Uryu and Nemu because he was so upset about how Mayuri treated Nemu, and I remember I shipped those two together for a while. I totally forgot about it though, so that way. Let's see, do I still have that? I gotta look this up. I gotta look up, see if it's still one of my official ships. Let's see. Yep, it's still one of my official ships. I shipped that a long time ago, and it's still on there. So, yep. Yeah. So anyway, we're in the middle of the Soul Society arc, and it's really entertaining right now. Like there hasn't been like an amazing episode that was like worth 10 out of 10 yet, but like every episode is really good. So there isn't really any bad there aren't any bad episodes is what I mean to say.
Yeah, it kind of feels. I don't know how much of things were planned out in the Soul Society arc. I feel like I remember the author at some point said, "Yeah, I didn't originally intend for Aizen to be the bad guy, but I just kind of decided that midway through." Which makes me think like stuff like Mayuri was the original goal. Oh man, the Soul Society, these are going to be the bad guys. But then he just came out, nah, I guess they're the good guys now. Well, it was all just, like guys and manipulating everything. So they were all good guys. Even Mayuri. So just forget about everything he did in, the multiple episodes we spent on him. It's so bizarre. The Mayuri is just so bizarre how he's treated now compared to later on. I mean, yeah, he does some more root. I don't know. It just never. It just feels like a bunch of the stuff is like later on is like him supposed to be more like goofy. Like the part where he's in the final arc where when he's like just shining and the Terminator's like and he's just like it's like who are you and then he just goes on this big thing about why he's shining and it's all like supposed to be goofy and stuff. I feel I did you get to that part yet?
He's like lit himself up so he's all bright all the time. Because I think something about the shadows, that there was something about the shadows that would cause him to lose or something. So he had to be lit up all the time. And so, yeah, he's had a lot of screen time. And I keep on thinking, he would be the perfect guy to kill off, and instead we have to kill off some of the best characters. So yeah, um, yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I guess I would mention on almost kind of a whim, just one of those things where I just saw the title. It's like, you know what? Why not check it out? I just happened to see a light novel with kind of one of those overly descriptive titles, which I know is like, most of them. I just looked at this one called okay, time for the full title. In English, which by the way, this is actually a little shorter than the Japanese one. Jeanette the Genius defying my evil stepmother by starting a business with my ride or die fiance. And having read it, it was okay. I don't think I'll be continuing with it. I just read the first volume. I found two things worked out too well for the main character. She perseveres in things too easily. I was thinking that it was kind of going for a joke in which, she's like super smart in business, but she's kind of really dumb in everyday interactions, because one joke that it does hit is the fact that she doesn't actually realize that her stepmother and step sister utterly hate her and think that all of the stuff that they do to her is just like some sort of test or something for her. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny, but it doesn't really do enough with that. So it was just okay. I don't really have much else to say. I guess I just wanted to throw that out there because I did get through it. So yeah, here's a case where a wacky title actually got my attention. So I guess that actually works sometimes.
Yeah, it's worked with me quite a few times. That was the only reason why I did the slime series, because I'm like, oh, this is an interesting title. And I didn't realize that practically, at the time I saw that, I didn't realize that practically all isekai have similar titles to it, and I was like, boy, this is an interesting thing. So yeah.
That time I got reincarnated as a slime seems like it's on the shorter end of isekai titles nowadays.
Yeah.
I and here's the thing, most of the time if you see one that doesn't have a long title, it's because in English they just kept it the shorter version. I don't know of any examples right now. I'd say ReZero, but ReZero does even in the English one, it's ReZero starting life in another world, so they include that other stuff. It's just that ReZero is a shortened version of it. But yeah, true. The funny thing is that the book I was talking about, the reason I saw it was because a while ago, and I was saying when I was talking, well, why haven't they licensed that Full Metal Panic sequel series yet, called Full Metal Panic Family? And I just tried to look, okay, so what's something that J Novel Club, because they licensed the original novel series of Full Metal Panic, have licensed recently, and I just grabbed one and I saw that, and I said it, I think, a long time ago in the podcast as a joke, and I was like, let me just look at that, and then I did, and there's my review. The crazy thing is that I realized afterwards I wasn't even looking at something they recently licensed. This was from 2023 when I was trying to make a point in 2024. Still no licensing of that yet though, but again, the entirety of the original Full Metal Panic is available in English, the light novels.
And we need you to do that thing again where you put all the new shows in a bracket and then come up with the top 4 shows like you did in the past. I don't know when the new season starts or when this one ends. I don't know those things. The
current season of anime started, was it in early January? That it's okay. There, and it'll be ending around therefore that would be in April sometime.
Okay.
That's how it goes. Let's see. Let me actually just double check. Let's see. You can always see a nice full list of stuff. There's several places. If you go though, to like just like 2024 in anime or 2025 in anime on Wikipedia. It'll give you a nice list of all the TV series and their list of when they started in each year. Although some of these things, you know, it won't list stuff that's continuing from the previous season, I guess. But yeah, the first thing for this season started January 2nd, and yeah, it'll be ending at
Sorry, I just read one of these titles and I had to laugh.
Which one?
Beheneko. The elf girl's cat is secretly an S-rated monster.
That one's
S-ranked monster. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from the newest one. That's not even the craziest one. The craziest well, I mean, in terms of sheer length, the craziest one would be hang on. Oh, dang. I'm looking at the Wikipedia one, and it just gives a shortened version of the title. By the way, everyone, I know we usually by this time have moved on to Star Trek, but sorry, we've got all this stuff to talk about first. Yeah, Bogus Skill Fruit Master. Now that's like the short one, shorter version. The full title is Bogus Skill Fruit Master. About that time, I became able to eat unlimited numbers of skill fruits that kill you. Now, that already sounds pretty goofy. It looks even goofier if you actually see how it's written. For example, that kill you is for no apparent reason in parentheses. It just randomly has that there. And Fruit Master, for some reason, has quotation marks around it. And by the way, that's the case in the original Japanese also. So yeah, there's all these ones. This has just gotten so common. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. Yeah.
The daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. The 100 girlfriends who really, 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 really love you. I'm sure that.
I think you might have missed a few reallys. Sorry, go on.
That's season 2, and that I'm. It has to be a wish fulfillment anime, doesn't it? I mean, it has to be.
So I only watched a little of it. This one is based on a manga, but the basic premise of it is that there's a guy, there's this character, and and everyone's supposed to have one person who's their perfect match, but there was like, but like whatever deity was doing that for him, was watching something at the time, something on TV, and accidentally putting 100 instead of one perfect soulmate. So he's going to have 100 like girlfriends, and if he doesn't like go out with all of them, then it'll like be like actually dangerous to their health. So it's basically just like a harem series comedy.
Okay. Spy Family doesn't come out until October.
No. Okay. Let's see. But yeah, so many lengthy ones. Not like, oh, here's next season coming April. Honestly, for all I know, this one. The problem is these titles sometimes make things look interesting, but then they actually aren't. But still, Yandere Dark Elf, she chased me all the way from another world. And I'm like, okay, that at least sounds maybe interesting. Probably won't be, but maybe it will be.
How about this one? The Too Perfect Saint, tossed aside by my fiance and sold to another kingdom. That sounds really bizarre.
Yeah, that's I feel like I actually No, I'm thinking of something different.
Okay. You know all these things before I even say them.
Well, I feel like I thought I had actually read, because I use there's this manga app called Manga Up. It got a kind of bad initial reception because of some dumb stuff in it. They mostly fixed the problems. They like, you know, it's like not as good as like say like Manga Plus or Shonen Jump or Viz Manga. I mean, their subscription option doesn't give you access to like the most recent chapters of a series, but gives you access to almost all of them. So it's an improvement there. But that series has a whole lot of like these overly lengthy names, and I thought that was one of them, but I don't. But I think that was actually a different one that probably had a similar premise. A whole lot of these have basically the same premise when you get down to it. There's
so many isekais.
Yeah, and then you get the long ones. I mean, it doesn't have to be an isekai to get a long one. There's Okitsura. Okitsura fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I know what she's saying.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. Say that again.
Okitsura fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I knew what she's saying.
Okay, so this person's from Okinawa, and she has a different language.
Okinawan is, as I understand, it's not exactly a different language. It's one of those things where it's similar enough to Japanese, but it's also not exactly the same, that people kind of argue about whether it's technically a dialect of Japanese or a different language. But it looked to me like it probably, and of course I don't know enough about Japanese and stuff, but it's probably more like the similarity between, I don't know, like maybe Portuguese and Spanish or something. But so different, but similar language is my understanding of it. So yeah, that's that one. I mean, we could.
Sorry, I derailed us.
No, you were just on the same stuff. So yeah, there's all these new series, and yeah, I've mostly heard from a bunch of people that, at least in terms of new series, this season isn't considered that great. When in doubt, to see what people are rating highly. What are people giving on my anime list? Let's see. Go sort according to you score. All right. So what's the stuff that's getting the best reviews? Not necessarily the most popular, but the best reviews. Solo Leveling, then Solo Leveling Season 2, then the Apothecary Diary Season 2, then Bang Dream Ave Mujika, or Ave Mujika, The Die is Cast, season, I don't know what number, fourth season of Dr. Stone, Medalist, and yeah, a bunch of other stuff. So, okay, it's not necessary. Although now that I'm looking at it, I'm realizing, wait, aren't all these series that are like most of these series that are the higher rated ones are all like season 2s or 3s or something.
Yeah.
In terms of new stuff, the highest rated, again, on my anime list, is Medalist, followed by Sakamoto Days, then From Bureaucrat to Villainess. I watched one episode of that series. I actually probably should go back and watch some more because it was actually decent. I'm going to inherently give, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm going to inherently give a thumbs up to an anime that actually includes some, even if it was in the background, some Star Trek references. Like, I think I said this before, but I'll just say it again. There's a part where the character, it's talking about how he has trouble remembering names, and you see all these names flash between them, which thankfully subtitles are included for, and they include some characters from Star Trek, from multiple Star Trek series, actually. I know Picard's there, Sisko's there, Miles O'Brien is there. I think Leonard McCoy from the original series is there. I can't remember if Kirk is. And I'm like, okay, series, I might not be watching you weekly, but I'll definitely be checking you out again at some point based on that. Okay. All right. I can't even remember what we were talking about before we started. Oh, right. I mentioned that I looked at the light novel because of its title, and then I just came across with on it. So, yeah. And of course, we've got lengthy titles. We're going to get more lengthy titles of them. Just blame the website that all this stuff is hosted, this stuff started on, because apparently, I'm just repeating myself. I know I've said this before, but whatever. Whatever its name is, I can't remember. Something Ninaru. To actually see the description of a series, you have to actually click. Like if you go to fanfiction.net or whatever, and you look at the list of stories, it'll give you the story title and a brief description of them, so you know what that's about. That site doesn't do that. It only gives you the name of the story, and you have to click on it to look at a description of it. So the only way to tell people what your story is about and try to separate it out from all the other people is to just say everything in the title, which is why we get all these lengthy titles.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so if you see... So once again, if you see... I'm not going to just make the same jokes I did about this before, so we'll move on, I guess. All right. Anything else related to anime, or should we just start talking Star Trek again?
It's Star Trek time.
All right. So we watched episode 16 of The Next Generation, Too Short a Season.
Okay, well, too short a season, but too long an episode. This episode had a guy who starts out at like age of like 90 years old, but he takes some sort of thing that makes him reverse age. So like every time you see him in a scene, he gets 10 years younger until he's finally like 20 years old at the end, and they're using him to try to negotiate for some hostages, which, like, why don't they just send Picard to negotiate? He's like the best negotiator. But they have him negotiate, and finally by the time he finally is able to get to their planet, he's like really young, so the guy doesn't believe it's actually him, and then he just kind of goes into spasms and dies, and and then everything gets worked out, and yeah, I was left a little befuddled by how everything worked out, just because the guy died, but it did, and that's the episode.
Mm-hmm. So a few quick thoughts. First, I'll just mention the thing that everyone else said. Because in cases like this, I often kind of look at reviews, what some people thought,
right,
which is the fact that the main characters are mostly irrelevant in this episode.
Yeah,
it's all about this new character, the one who died. This feels like more like the sort of thing you'd see on like, I don't know,
Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So an anthology series like the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits. I think this would be more of an Outer Limits thing. I don't think the Twilight. Well, no, Twilight Zone did enough like space exploration stuff. So something like that, an anthology series. If that had been like the plot, and it was just about this guy, then I think that would have made more sense. But it really feels like it's one of those episodes that's just like, rewritten to include the characters from the Next Generation.
Right. Yeah.
One other thing, and this bugged me. So they're going to go on try to do a rescue mission to the hostage. And Picard says, "I'll go down with you." And I'm like, what? Why? Well, why are you going? Why? There's two things here. One, what is the plot reason, the out-of-universe perspective for him to do it? Because he doesn't do anything important while he's there. He could have just stayed on the Enterprise. When he beams down later with the guy, there's at least a plot purpose because it gives him a chance to make a speech. But in that first thing, when they're going right into danger, he doesn't do anything. So I don't know why there's there. In universe, why know this is always a thing where the main characters do everything, but why is he going down there when he's the captain? And more importantly, Riker just goes along with it, even though, again, it was his previous captain, Riker, refused to let him beam down to a dangerous situation. The action that made Picard give Riker this job. And Riker's just like, okay. He doesn't like say anything or say, no, you can't do that. So that was just really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And,
yeah, you're right about it. It felt like the main characters had nothing to do with it. It was just the conflict between the two men and the woman who was part of it too. And yeah, so yeah, just a bizarre episode, and I'm not sure what it was trying to prove. It didn't even have like a moral to the story or anything, you know. Like some of these episodes, you learn something from them. This one just was kind of like, okay, de-aging is bad, but it doesn't exist in real life anyway. So, I mean, what does that really matter? So, yeah, just a bizarre episode and one that I did not enjoy at all. So, I gave this one a 2 out of 10 because I hated it so much. I don't know what you gave it.
I was actually far more lenient on it. I gave it a 6.
Oh, really?
I mean, I can't say I thought it was particularly good, but there's at least some levels of suspense at some points in this. So I didn't feel as bored as I was in like some of the previous episodes we've watched. So yeah, I ended up just giving it a 6. I wouldn't say it was good, but I didn't think it was really bad either. So yeah. I don't.
My average rating isn't very good.
I finally decided, okay, I should actually start keeping track of my scores on these. So I've got this in the last 2 ones, but everything before that I've completely forgotten. Yeah, I in terms of like a moral, I mean, not every episode needs a moral exactly. The previous one I don't think necessarily had one. I don't think they were necessarily saying anything about like de-aging, because it did say the reason he dies is because he took too much of it because he needed it done right away. But I will still say, why is it it does seem like an invention like this is the sort of thing that I know they say, oh, you know, only this one planet has it, and they're very secretive about it and don't give it out to many people. I'm like, it's still de-aging.
Yeah.
I think it did say something that it can have like side effects and it can kill you or whatever, and maybe that's why. But it just feels like it's a thing that they just don't do. That would be a much bigger deal, maybe. I don't know. It's the fact prior to this point, okay, people didn't think it was real, fine, but people know it's real now, unless they just decided, okay, we're just going to not talk about this to anyone, and the people who know about this will be quiet, maybe. So I don't know. Although it kind of feels like, what wasn't like the plot of the movie Star Trek Insurrection about how they were like, some people were like trying to get the rejuvenating things from this planet to like cure their illnesses. I'm thinking, oh, well, what about this planet that apparently has this miracle cure? Some reason you're not going with that instead?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little weird there. I mean, and the thing is, the side effect is that even if the side effect is, oh, it could kill you, I'm like, okay, just give it to a bunch of old people. If they die, they were about to die anyway. And if de-ages them, great.
Yeah.
Whew. The last question I did have, and I was wondering about this, was when they're trying to find the hostages, couldn't they have just scanned for them? Like, they can scan from orbit.
Yeah.
and you can't like say, oh, it's shields or whatever, because they're able to, you know, just transport in. So apparently there aren't shields there, so I don't think there would be something that would make it so they couldn't scan.
Mhm.
Maybe they can't scan like the whole planet, but I think they would at least be able to like go these specific spaces. I don't know. Like I said, it really feels like a Twilight Zone or Outer Limit episode that they just kind of repurposed in order to make it a next generation episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. All right, so what is the next episode that we have of this? It's When the Bow Breaks. Okay, so we'll watch that episode 17 for next week.
Yep.
And that's it. We'll see you all next week for that. And one thing, we were planning to watch 2 episodes of Blue Lock this week. Just a note of that.
That's right.
We now, granted, it seems like we frequently just change our mind on things, but that's at least a current plan.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be here next week for everything we just discussed in one extra episode of Blue Lock. See you then.
Bye.
Hey, Sarah, you know what we need right about now?
A complete system overhaul and joint lube?
That would be nice, but I'm talking about rock and roll.
You better hang on tight, Sonai! What is that thing?
Fire up your Vespa for Fooly Cooly Grunge.
Next Saturday at midnight.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Thanks for the info.